Hi everyone, welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. My name is Artem and here is the news. For 548 days, Ukraine defends itself against the Russian invasion. The Netherlands will hand over all 42 of its F-16 fighters to Ukraine, but retain a few for training of Ukrainian pilots, reports European Pravda. Dutch Defense Minister Kajsa Ollongren explained this by saying that training for pilots never ends. At the same time, training may not take place in the Netherlands, but for example at the training center in Romania. The Defense Intelligence of Ukraine informed that Ukrainian forces attacked the 126th Separate Guards Coastal Defense Brigade of the Russian Black Sea Fleet in Crimea, reports Liga. Intelligence spokesperson Andriy Yusov said that brigade was attacked in the village of Perevalne in temporarily occupied Crimea. Perevalne is located in the Simferopol district of Crimea. The distance from it to the nearest Ukraine-controlled territories on Dnipro's right bank is about 275 kilometers, and over 300 kilometers to the left bank. Later, Ukrainska Pravda sources in the Security Service of Ukraine informed that a drone strike on the brigade's base resulted in several dozen Russian military killed or wounded. The exact number of drones is not specified, but it is noted that it was a group of unmanned aerial vehicles. Kirilo Budanov, chief of Defense Intelligence of Ukraine, claimed that Russia has not suspended mobilization and is considering the possibility of conscripting an additional 450,000 people, reports Krim Reali. At the same time, Budanov stressed that this issue has not yet been fully resolved. He informed that last autumn Russians conscripted about 350,000 people. But covert mobilization continues all the time, and currently 20 to 22,000 people are called up every month. Commander of the Ground Forces of Ukraine, Colonel General Alexander Syrsky, visited Kupiansk and Liman in eastern Ukraine, reports Interfax Ukraine. According to him, the operational situation there remains tense. After a month of fierce fighting and significant losses on the Kupiansk and Liman fronts, the enemy is regrouping its forces and means and simultaneously transferring newly formed brigades and divisions from the territory of Russia. Syrsky says the Russians continue to conduct powerful attacks from artillery and mortars and are making extensive use of aircraft. We would really appreciate if you could rate us, ideally with 5 stars, and leave a glowing review in the app where you are listening to this podcast: Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and others. This way more people would learn about the highlights from Ukraine and truth about Russia's invasion. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba has commented on the impossibility of negotiations between Kiev and Moscow, recalling the mysterious plane crash involving Wagner Group leader Yevgeny Prigozhin, who also negotiated with Russian dictator Vladimir Putin, reports Zerkalo Tizhnya. Quote, "We recently saw Mr. Prigozhin, a longtime friend of Putin's, attempt to negotiate a truce with him. They sat down at a table, it was shown on television, then boom, and it seems Prigozhin has ceased to exist," unquote, said Kuleba. The minister said that this situation demonstrates the price of negotiating with Putin. At the same time, he added that those countries that can speak to the Russian Federation with full respect for Ukraine's principled position on territorial integrity, Ukraine appreciates such efforts to maintain contact with the Russians and to force them to conclude that this war has no right ending for them. Thank you for listening to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast. We're a commercial initiative of just 2 people and we need your help to grow. Share information about the podcast, rate us in the app, subscribe to our Patreon. With your support, we're getting better. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.